My dating life is kind of like a Jake Paul fight. I am constantly finding creative ways to pair myself with someone who is just not a good match for me. Hello, and welcome to the Sports Bimbo Podcast. I'm your host, Stella K. All right, the time has come. I didn't think it would come to this, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It is time to rebuke Jake Paul. Yes, I said rebuke him. Jake Paul, I rebuke you in the name of Sugar Ray Robinson, in the name of Muhammad Ali, in the name of Joe Louis. I rebuke you, Jake Paul. Go back to whence you came. I cast you out, Jake Paul. Okay? Rebuked. Literally since I started covering combat, which is about 2.5 years ago, maybe longer, I have been a vocal supporter of Jake Paul. You can fact check me. You can look it up. You can go back to my very first post on Sports Bimbo, Jake Paul post. Okay? I absolutely respect his work ethic, his growth. I'm not against new things coming into the sport to get eyes on it. That's all good. Win-win kind of stuff, right? But over time, as things evolve, his unwillingness to fight someone that is actually a good match for him, it's just become ridiculous. And it's time now. Now I am a Jake Paul critic. I went from being a supporter, now I'm critical. I understand selling the fight, getting these big names to get pay-per-view buys, all that makes sense to me. But by now, do you want the real fight fans to respect you? Do you want the fight industry as a whole to respect you? Or are you just creating your own industry that is just about yourself? So you fought all these people now that had some kind of name that brought attention to your pay-per-view. We've all watched it. We've all tuned in. We know you're a boxer. We get it. So what happens now if you actually fight someone around your skill level, around your size, around your age, who maybe doesn't have the fame that you and all these other people have? You're going to level that person up. You're going to be leveling the sport up. And you're going to be leveling yourself up if it's someone that we actually respect, that we can look into and say, okay, yeah, this person is legit. This person is the real deal. Why is that like not a possibility for you, Jake Paul? I am embarrassed to say that I really went into this thinking that Mike Perry would win. In retrospect, I don't know why I thought that. He's another washed up UFC fighter. I guess him being closer in age to Jake Paul, and I thought for some reason in size, it just seemed to make more sense to me. I'm like, hell yeah, this guy's like a real fighter and like pretty much active right now. But I forgot about my stance that BKFC is generally where someone goes when they're on the decline. I've said it before. And then I just got caught up in all the hoopla lately about Mike Perry and Conor McGregor taking part ownership and some of the girls being really good, not Paige Van Zandt. This fight for me was excruciating to watch. Now, it wasn't like a Misfits boxing, but it was just painful to see Mike Perry that bad. He looked like an amateur out there. Also, can I just say that people are starting to lose interest? They're not as interested as I think we think they are. The sports bar that I went to is a sports bar by my house that I generally always go to watch fights if I don't feel like paying for the pay-per-view, or if I don't want to, or if I can't, whatever the case may be, or if I just want to be around people, I go to the sports bar by my house, and it's usually packed for every big fight. Nobody was there. I'm serious. Nobody. Like, was there people in the bar? Yes, but they weren't there for the fight. There was like a few people like seated around the bar. It was in general empty. I had anxiety because I was going late just for the main in my dumbass head because I'm so obsessed with the fight world. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be packed. I'm barely going to be able to see. Nobody was there. Nobody. I'm just dragging this card through the mud today because before I get too much into that Jake Paul versus Mike Perry main event, let's talk about that disappointing co-main of Amanda Serrano versus Stevie Morgan. Now, Amanda Serrano is someone that I have always sung the praises of so highly. I'm always saying she's goated. I'm always talking about her previous career before all the Jake Paul stuff, how she's held belts in every weight class, how she was a really good MMA fighter before she even became a boxer. I've always thought she is so, so amazing. Amanda Serrano is a 7-division world champion who has won 9 major world titles. Now, that being said, it seems like Jake Paul is having more of an influence on her than she's having on him at this point, because that was a disgusting mismatch. It was her first KO in 3 years, but okay, this is like me going outside and beating the brakes off a girl who doesn't know how to fight for shit. This girl was basically her punching bag, and it really made me think of all the boxers who get accused of cherry picking opponents. It was like that girl was just out there as like bait. She didn't have a chance. It is what we call in wrestling a jobber. She was there to get squashed. That was a squash match. She didn't have a chance. She just got the daylights beat out of her so Amanda Serrano could look good. Well, to who? To people who don't know anything about boxing. I'm starting to think that that is the demographic of these MVP fights. They're for people who don't really know what's going on, like the Huck Tua girl. They made sure to show that she was there every 5 minutes. What does she know about fights? I didn't need to hear her calling Mike Perry a bitch. More on that later, but on to Jake Paul and Mike Perry. Like I said earlier, I was under the impression that these guys were vaguely around the same size. Now, full disclosure, I didn't watch the weigh-ins or any of that stuff, which I clearly should have, because Jake Paul is 6'1" and Mike Perry is 5'10" on a good day. Now, these guys are supposed to be fighting at cruiserweight, which is 200 pounds max. No lie, in that boxing ring, Jake Paul looked a good 230, and Mike Perry would be lucky to clear 190. If I wanted to exaggerate, I would say Jake Paul looked 240. Apparently at the weigh-in, Mike Perry was at 196.6 pounds, and Jake was just over 200. In order to make 200, he had to drop the towel and go behind the towel on the scale. But whatever happened between the weigh-in and the fight night, it looks like Mike Perry dropped 5 pounds and Jake Paul went up 10. The size was crazy. People were tweeting like the size difference should be investigated. Kamaru Usman was tweeting and he was cracking me up. He said, welterweight versus heavyweight, damn. As Jake Paul evolves, his fights should be increasing in difficulty, but they're not. He did outbox Mike Perry to the point where it was embarrassing. And that's on both of them, in my opinion. Mike Perry should have stepped it up. He knows this fight is coming. He was out there fighting like someone who doesn't know how to fight. But also, Jake Paul should be fighting people who are more suited to him, specifically in boxing, not bare knuckle, not MMA, not a old reality star. Like, fight a boxer, because that's what your focus is. It was absolutely a good and improved performance by Jake Paul. I see him getting better each fight, sure. But what's the point if your opponents aren't getting better? Your opponents have to be getting better with you so we know, oh, yeah, he beat that boxer and that boxer. And then you're at the top, right? That's how you make it to the top, generally. I know this is MVP world and we're playing by a whole different set of rules, but if you want the respect of people who actually follow the industry as it is, you have to level it up. You don't just start pummeling worse boxers so that you look great, because the people who know the difference, we're going to start clocking it. Mike Perry was noticeably keeping his hands light, which is more of a bare knuckle thing, not a standard boxing, whereas Jake was coming with way more power. And so again, it was another punching bag situation. That part's on Mike Perry. Like, you needed to bring a little more power. This is standard boxing. He had terrible defense, terrible offense, just overall an embarrassing performance from Mike Perry. I was really disappointed. I felt like a dumbass for having him as my pick. So in my opinion, Jake Paul needs to stop fighting old guys, stop fighting UFC guys, stop fighting smaller guys. I don't want to watch Mike Tyson anymore. I said that before, and I'm going to say it again. I don't want to see it. He's old. He's having health issues. And this is a complete 180 on my stance from when I started this podcast. I used to say I was excited and that I still thought Mike Tyson was going to win because he's Mike Tyson. And I don't care if he's 60 years old. But then he started having health problems. And it's just like, let's wrap it up. Was he having the health problems because he was going so hard with his training and trying to show us he still got it? I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Mike Tyson out there getting hurt like all these other guys. These other guys that we've seen, Jake Paul, batter across the ring, they're younger, okay? This guy's old. I don't want to see that. And he's a fucking goat. That's just embarrassing. He needs to rest. He's going to get hurt. I am over the freak show. I am officially over the freak show. Do I respect Jake Paul? Yes. Do I like Jake Paul? Yes. Do I think he's a good boxer? Yes. I respect the work ethic, the dedication, the commitment to the sport, and the good things that he does. The MVP promotion, these fights that he's putting on, these pay-per-views, it's becoming a freak show. The only legitimate boxer that he boxed was Tommy Fury, and that was when he lost. So show us that you can do that again, but win. And there you go. Then you have everybody's respect. You're on the decline, in my opinion, with respect from people who understand legitimate fight world. Now, if you just want your demographic to be hooked to a girl, they'll pump. Those people, fine, keep doing what you're doing. But there was nobody at the bar, at the sports bar in LA, in a trendy neighborhood. That is my message to Jake Paul. And like I said, I've always been a supporter, but fight a real opponent or I'm not watching anymore. It's on Saturday night. I have UFC to watch. I don't need to waste my time with this anymore. It'll go the way of Misfits. At this point, maybe I'll check out Misfits. They might be doing better because I know they have some lit girls on the roster. Some of the Twitter reactions of this fight cracked me up. The one that was making me laugh the most was Rampage Jackson. He said, Jake Paul out here looking like a French maid, which I'll put the picture of Jake Paul's fight outfit. Obviously, it was all black and white, and his boxers, I mean, I don't know the official word. I'm sure there's like a legitimate word for this, but it was kind of like a skirt over it, you know? Amanda Serrano has the same thing, or it's kind of like a gladiator skirt. It looks very Spartan. But it was, once he said that, it was giving French maid, and I died. Speaking of Kamaru Usman's tweet earlier when he said welterweight versus heavyweight, I think that we just need to take 1 second to acknowledge his blue highlighter fit from a couple of weeks ago, where he looked like a blue Powerade. And if you didn't see it, I don't know how there is anyone who follows combat who didn't see it, but if you didn't see it, he had on like a mock turtleneck, tight, skin tight, looked like it was Skims, but it was neon blue highlighter, blue Powerade, blue buzzball color. We'll put a picture of it. And it had the matching slacks. So he was just head to toe, blue highlighter, buzzball, Powerade. And it was just such a peculiar color to be in, from head to toe, skin tight. And, you know, he doesn't have hair. That shit was just hilarious. The memes were going crazy. I've been meaning to talk about it for weeks, but I keep forgetting because there's so many more important fight topics. But since I mentioned his tweet, that reminded me. His body looked great. Did he get a fit off? People were asking. My opinion, no. That was crazy. That color it was just too crazy to be monochromatic in. It's too ahead of the times for me. I wasn't feeling it. Last week, I did a little combat for Bimbo segment that I really enjoyed. I don't know about you guys. I didn't get any questions this week. Nobody DM'd me or tweeted me any questions. But thinking about this segment did make me think of something funny that I used to think that I didn't know. It's from when I was younger. And for some reason, I thought that TKO meant total knockout and that it was worse than a knockout. You know, there's KO and a TKO. So when they said, you know, by KO, that was a knockout. And then when it was TKO, total knockout, not just a knockout, but a total knockout, which means it was like way worse, like the worst you could, like Mortal Kombat knockout, TKO. I don't know why I thought that. And I remember like when it dawned on me, when I got more serious into watching fights, I learned that it's for a technical knockout. And I just felt like the dumbest person alive. And every time I think about it still, it cracks me up. KO, TKO, knockout, total knockout. So for those of you who may not know, I won't laugh at you because that was me, you know, just a few short years ago. I can't remember how long ago it was, but you know, whatever. For those of you who don't know, a TKO is a technical knockout, which means they aren't out cold, like on the mat, laying down, you know, they're not like passed out like that, you know, they're not unconscious. But it's when a referee decides that a fighter is no longer able to defend themselves. So imagine a time when you've seen a fighter like, hit in the head a bunch of times and they're kind of loopy and woozy and wobbly, right? They're not really present. They're not really in it. So while they haven't like hit the mat all the way, if the referee decides that they can no longer defend themselves, they're going to call a TKO. So, the opponent's going to win by TKO, by a technical knockout. They didn't lay them out flat. They didn't knock them unconscious, but they, beat them to the point where they are no longer able to defend themselves. So they just end it, otherwise we'll be out there killing each other. Like, this sport is not for murderers. Or if there are 3 knockdowns in a single round, that brings a mandatory TKO declaration. We did, however, get a call into the Bimbo hotline, a real one from someone that I don't know yet again. So let's take it to the phone lines. And once again, the number is 1-844-MMA-BIMB. 1-844-MMA-BIMB. That is a real line, and it is toll free. You can call it 24/7 and leave a voicemail to be played on the podcast. It can be a question, comment, a concern. Just don't jerk off on it. Someone did that yet again, and I know you guys think you're funny, but let me just tell you something that I wasn't going to say at first, just in case I ever needed it. But when you call the hotline, it does leave your phone number. So I will find out who you are, and that's going to be really embarrassing for you when I expose it. So stop jerking off on the MMA Bimbo hotline. I know it has a sexy voicemail. It's for a joke. You're supposed to laugh, not supposed to be a fucking sicko. Like, am I going to have to change the outgoing message to be less sexy? I thought that was funny, but I didn't know you guys are going to be getting turned on. Men are deranged, truly.
Quick question for the masses. Would you rather take a leg kick from Khalil Roundtree every morning? And I'm not meaning no sissy leg kick. I mean an oblique kick. Or would you rather hear Tito Ortiz explain a U.S. foreign policy for 2 hours every morning?
Okay, so the question is, would you rather take a leg kick from Khalil Roundtree every morning or hear Tito Ortiz explain U.S. foreign policy every day for 2 hours? For me, that's easy. I know you guys think you're funny and you're going to say Khalil Roundtree. For me, that's easy. I'll listen to Tito Ortiz because even if I don't agree with him, if I don't like his takes, first of all, he's going to say something funny. Second of all, I fuck with Tito Ortiz. That's my dad. Yeah, I could tune it out. I could do other things. Why would I get beat up? I feel like you have to be such like an extreme dramatic, like woke, bleeding heart, liberal, like that. Like you would prefer to have your ass kicked than to have to listen to this man that you don't agree with. Okay. Since I've been complaining a lot about boxing lately, I feel like I've just been shitting on boxing. I got to change my branding. I got to take the boxing gloves out of the logo because I've been shitting on it so hard. But since I've been shitting on boxing so hard lately, I did want to bring up a fight that I'm really looking forward to here in Los Angeles, and that's on August 3rd. It's Isaac Pitbull Cruz versus Jose Valenzuela for Isaac's 140-pound WBA title. I am a big fan of Isaac Cruz. I have covered him extensively at my previous job, as well as Andy Ruiz, who is also on the undercard, versus Jarrell Miller. And those are heavyweights. Those are both on the undercard of the Terrence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov fight. And apparently Eminem is performing, and that will really excite all the white people and the old people out there. But me, not so much, though. I'm sure it will be lit to see in person. Like, if it was there, I'll put it on my Instagram stories and be like, hell yeah. But just like seeing that on the flyer, I'm going to be real with y'all. Eminem is not all that to me. I know that's controversial, but he doesn't speak to my soul. I don't care about Eminem, okay? But I know people are hyped. I've seen people on the internet be hyped about that. It is a cool thing, I guess. For some reason, he's at this fight. I'm more excited to see Andy Ruiz than Eminem. I always like to say that if I was a professional boxer, I'll be like Andy Ruiz. I'll be a heavyweight, first of all. I'll be a power puncher. Maybe not so much on the footwork, but I'll be a good, solid boxer. He's a good boxer. I really like Andy Ruiz. And I like Isaac. They're both good. They're both great. Those are both two fighters that I have covered a lot in my career previously to starting Sports Bimbo. I would really like to be there. I would really like to see it. We'll see what happens. You never know where I'm going to be these days. I can't tell what I end up at. But yeah, that is some boxing to get hyped about since I've been shitting on it lately. I'm sick of the Jake Paul. I don't remember what else I was sick over. I was getting excited for the Lomachenko, and I mentioned that on the podcast, and just like how everything is always going in boxing. You hear a buzz about something that's off. Fights are always being called off. Everybody's ducking somebody. That's why it's not as much fun to cover as UFC. But yeah, here's something to be excited about. This is random, but this is just something that I've been thinking about when I watch fights on the weekends. I feel like as a person with ADHD, now keep in mind, I've never been trained on the level of a professional. So I'm sure this would change with the proper training. But just looking at this as myself, as a girl with ADHD, I would get sensory overload from the corner when they're all yelling. I feel like that would distract me, or I'll get aggravated. I'd be like, I know, like, shh. I know that's not how it really works, but I always think about that when you hear all the yelling. I'd be like, oh my God, how do they tell who to listen to? I don't know if you guys remember that clip that everybody was either laughing at or getting up in arms about. It was Tim Welch, who is Sean O'Malley's coach. He yelled at Aljamain Sterling as if he was his corner and was like, Aljo, you got to go. And they claimed that contributed to him losing the fight. He would have lost anyway, in my opinion. So if that's true, if it really happened like that, I think it's kind of funny. I'll put the clip in here. But I remember everyone getting riled up about it. That would absolutely happen to me. Which corner is mine? I feel like they would all blend together. I don't know how they do it. Or I would get snappy, like, not just let me figure it out. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Or maybe I would win just because I want everybody to shut the fuck up and I would just go crazy. UFC 304 is this weekend. And that is something to be really excited about. I'm not as excited as I could be or as I should be, just because that is the same night that I am hosting the all-girl barroom blitz for Circle 6, which I'm excited about that, but it's just so hard being a fight fan and being someone who is a fight content creator and a fight podcast host, because my Saturday is always booked up. So if anything comes up on a Saturday, and obviously like wrestling stuff happens on Saturday too. So this is just like this commitment. I just cannot watch UFC in the present. I'm sure I'll find a way to have it on while I'm hosting this. I'm sure I'll make a reel like I always do of me, having it on my phone in some absurd place while I'm doing something else. But it's a little more exciting to watch the card fully present in a great location. But I will be doing something else exciting that I'm really excited about. But yeah, that card, the main event, Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. The co-main, Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blade. And then we have the lightweight bout, Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett, who we haven't seen in a while. Like that is for me exciting. The flyweight, Mohamed Mokaev versus, I believe it's Manel Cape. That's the guy that got into it with Adesanya at the press conference a while back. It's just all good. Like, to me, this is a good card. I like all these guys. I know people have been saying Bilal's boring. I think it'll be a good fight. I like Bilal. Molly McCann is fighting again on the prelims. Good card. I'll be able to watch the early prelims because they start at like 3 p.m. I believe this is happening in the UK. So I wish that the times were, for once, I wish that this was happening at a really odd time, like 5 in the morning. So then I could do it all. But according to my internet, it says that it'll be on at 7 p.m., the main card as usual. So I won't be able to watch that in real time that I'm aware of. ESPN has released the list of their top 10 men's MMA fighters of the 21st century. So I just wanted to read those quickly and see what everybody thinks about it. And we can all fight about it in the comments of ESPN. Or come fight about it in the comments of Sports Bimbo. I need the engagement. Let's do that instead. Number 1, John Jones. I know that's a popular opinion. Number 2, GSP, George St. Pierre. Number 3, Anderson Silva. Number 4, Demetrius Johnson. Number 5, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Like there'll be some fighting about that. Number 6, Fedor Emelianenko. I think I said that right. I think he needs to be higher on the list. That is one of the best heavyweights of all time. It is criminal that he was never in UFC. Number 7, Randy Couture. Number 8, Chuck Liddell. Number 9, BJ Penn. Number 10, Kamaru Usman. What do y'all think about that list? That is the top 10 MMA fighters of the 21st century. That list just came out, so I'm going to have to stew on it a little bit. I don't know about John Jones being higher than GSP. I don't know. I would just, on first glance, I would move GSP higher, John Jones lower, but not by much, just like one little ranking, swap them out. I would move Khabib down, just like one, and swap a million and go up one. Those are on my first glance. Some of the comments are saying, I'm not the biggest McGregor fan, but he needs to be on the list for being the first double champ and for his impact on the sport. Also, DC deserves to be on this list. He never tested positive, unlike some of these guys on the list, and he was still able to become double champ. This is pretty interesting stuff. It's not a terrible list, but I would make those few little swaps. I do need to think about this deeper. I'm probably going to get myself in trouble just going, knee-jerk reaction just reading this. But yeah, maybe I would put my list as number 1, GSP, number 2, John Jones, number 3, Anderson Silva, number 4, Demetrius Johnson, number 5, Fedor Emelianenko, number 6, Khabib, number 7, Randy Couture, number 8, Chuck Liddell, number 9, BJ Penn, and then number 10, would I put Conor McGregor over Kamaru Usman? Maybe. What's your guys' list, guys? Write it into me. I need to know. Since we are discussing UFC 304 and Paddy Pimblett, who is fighting, there's a couple of things I want to mention. First, that man's ability to change his body. If you see, as soon as he's done fighting, he just blows up. Like, he's really just like big back, enjoying his snacks. And then when it's time for him to fight again, very quickly, it seems like in 2 weeks, he just shredded, 6-pack abs. I want to know how he does it, number 1. How does he go to such extreme? And when I'm telling you he balloons up, I mean like he becomes overweight. He becomes out of shape. How does he yo-yo like that so quickly? And also, it just can't be good for you. But I want to know his secrets. Like, that is the number 1 person. If he wrote like a diet and fitness book or program, I'm joining, I'm buying, I'm signing up. And I have personally asked him for tips, tricks, and advice because I want to look like Bella Hadid in 2 weeks, but he doesn't answer me. So I don't know. I mean, it could just be a coincidence that he doesn't answer. Maybe he doesn't want to tell his secrets. Or maybe it's like, not good for you and he doesn't advise it. I don't know, but he blows my mind with that. I'll post for the visual viewers of this podcast who watch it on YouTube. I'll post the picture of the before and after. For my audio listeners, you can look it up if you don't already know. This guy yo-yos. I don't even know. It looks like 60 pounds very quickly, back and forth all the time, not just once. Posts and pre-fight constantly. The second thing about Paddy Pimblett that I wanted to discuss is my weird DMs to him. So at my previous sports job, I had covered him and, I would repost some of my work in my stories and I tagged him and he responded to one time. So we had a very innocent exchange. I don't want it to sound like he was like sliding in my DMs. He has a wife and a kid. It's nothing inappropriate. It was purely in the context of my coverage of him. And then we just started yapping because it was around the time, if anyone remembers, he was kind of going back and forth on Twitter with an AEW wrestler called MJF. And there was speculation if Paddy would come to AEW, if he wanted to do some kind of wrestling angle, which absolutely no way now that would happen because UFC and WWE merged with the TKO group, Total Knockout. And so if Paddy the Baddy were to do any wrestling angles, 100% he would do it with WWE now and not AEW. But at the time, it looked like him and Max might be working towards something in the future. And I just yapped to him a little bit about that because I used to work there and I know Max. Super nice guy, super friendly guy. Like, we would talk here and there, nothing extensive, nothing major, nothing to write home about. But I went one day to ask him how I can be Bella Hadid in 2 weeks, the DM that I just referred to. And I saw something very bizarre that I have no recollection of, and I can't explain. And I wish that I was like a weed smoker or that I drank alcohol so that I would have some sort of explanation for my bizarre behavior, but there's none. I cannot tell you how, when, where, what, why. I don't understand. Like, was I possessed by a demon? Did I do it in my sleep? I don't have an answer. It's literally one of my life's greatest mysteries, but it is so fucking funny. I showed one of my best friends, Britt, this, and we died. And we'll still bring it up at random sometimes. So I'll be like, remember when I DM'd Paddy the Batty XYZ and we just fucking die? It is so weird. So I'll put it on the screen here so you guys could see. March 31st, 2023, he DMs me. We had been in conversations around this time, right? Being friends, friendly. He DMs me, hello. I don't respond. Left the guy on red. I don't know if I read it, but I see here that I clearly do not respond to this March 31st DM. I don't know where I was or who the fuck I thought I was to be so busy to not respond to Paddy the Batty, who bothered to take time out of his day to say hello to me. I respond October 12th. So let's do the math here. I'm not good at math. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. 7 months later, I DM him, and it is a picture, which I believe is an AI photograph. I've seen it going around the internet before. I'm familiar with the picture. It is a very large, obese black man wearing a woodland camo baseball hat and traditional camo shorts. And he appears to be in a swamp, in a bayou. The type of like plant life behind him looks like maybe it's Louisiana. He's with an alligator and they are eating a large pepperoni pizza together. That is what I sent him. He said hello. I said nothing. And 7 months later, I sent a picture, an AI composite of a man eating a pepperoni pizza with an out. What? Why did I do that? I don't know. I have no idea of what I was doing, what I expected. He didn't respond to that gladly. And our like friendship just kind of ended there. Well, I guess it ended in March when I just stopped responding to our ongoing polite conversation. And then I just popped up again in January, which is so it took me from October to January to even know that I sent that. When I said, okay, how can I look like Bella Hadid in 2 weeks? Because I guess I was pressed about being fat or something. But he didn't respond to the AI photograph, which what can you possibly say to that, you know? And then I pop up, I'm rude. I'm actually rude. And then I pop up, okay, like give me diet advice, like nothing about him. Like I'm a bad friend to Paddy the Batty. I see why we're not friends like that. And then I did write to him about the podcast, and he was very nice, very polite. And like, this guy's famous, this guy's well known. There have been some people who have been pretty shitty to me about my podcast that I've mentioned before, but he's like, this guy's, it's so funny. It's always the bigger stars who are honestly so kind. You know, like we all know, I talk to Sean, like Strickland, like every day, like the guys who are on top, they're so nice. And it's the guys that we don't even know who they are, that they got this crazy ego, you know, anyway. Yes, I got to talk to his management about having him on the podcast. He'd be a great guest. Fingers crossed. I love that. And then maybe we could discuss the AI photograph I sent him and what he thought about that, and I can tell him that I literally don't remember sending it. I don't know. Something is wrong with me, apparently. Also, breaking news. I just saw this. Sean O'Malley just came for Conor McGregor's neck on Twitter for some reason. Maybe it's because of the list we just discussed. I'm not sure, but I literally just saw this, and I'm going to read the tweet. At Sugar Sean MMA, verified. Conor isn't in anyone GOAT talk. Entertainment, yes, but skills, no. Has a really good left hand. Shit cardio. Weak jits. Decently athletic. Mentally weak. Drug addict. Needs rehab. 1 in 4 last 5 fights. Still a fan, though. Hope toe heals up. Wow. There's a lot to unpack there. It's pretty passive aggressive. I don't know what it is in response to. Someone responded and said, calling someone else a drug addict while being addicted to weed is hilarious. I disagree. I don't think of weed as a drug like that. I think Connor is on if Connor's doing drugs, he's on some hard stuff. He's doing cocaine and crack out of hookers' assholes. He's doing some real crazy stuff that we don't know about. That's not the same as sitting on your couch playing video games with Tim Welch smoking weed. But yeah, I don't know what that is about and what that is response to. But while we're talking about Conor McGregor and Twitter fingers, I cannot believe that I didn't bring this up earlier. Did you guys see the tweets that Conor McGregor made after the Jake Paul fight? And then he fired Mike Perry from BKFC for losing, which is hysterical. Does he even have that power? I know he's a part owner, but is that really how it works? That Conor McGregor can just get on Twitter and fire anyone publicly? That's insane. Also, that's just a weird way to do things. I don't agree with that decision. I can't wait to see how that unravels and how BKFC handles that. Is Mike Perry fired? Is he not? But let's go ahead and read those tweets from Conor McGregor because they were hilarious. I even retweeted the one about Jake Paul because it was making me laugh. God, imagine just saying anything and being so crazy. It must be kind of fun, but the repercussions. I don't even have opinions that strong about anything ever, really, that I could just get on and go like this. Okay. Oh, it says this post has been deleted from my retweets. I'm going to screenshot it to save it for later. Okay. This is a tweet from the Notorious MMA, which is Conor McGregor's verified account. Jake Paul is the biggest piss bag I have ever seen in my life. 40-pound weight difference, juiced out of his head, and still shitting himself in there. Nakisa, you should take him to Vegas. Oh, that's right. You could never. The Athletic Commission testing, real fighting, bitch asses. You could never. And then calling out 60-year-old Mike Tyson fresh off an in-flight medical emergency. I swear to God, a fat can of bitch piss. A fat can of bitch piss. And then he said, most valuable piss bag. Where does he come up with this stuff? I've never even heard all those words together in my life. A fat can of bitch piss. I need to incorporate that into my vocabulary. That's hilarious. Okay, let's see if his tweets are was he drunk? What was going on? He was on whatever I was on when I DM'd Paddy the Baddie AI picture of a alligator eating a pizza with a man. Let's see if his firing tweets are still up. Hey, Mike, you're released and you can go and compete in your smelly, dirty boxing championship thing. The smell of it. Good luck. You're fired at Bare Knuckle FC. I don't see any official news from BKFC supporting the claim that Mike Perry's fired. I'm sure they're trying to figure it out between all of them.
Hey, that's fucked up that you fired your BKFC champion. But the face of BKFC. I told you that was going to happen. You know, I told you exactly what was going to happen. He was big upping his boy Mike Perry. I said, okay, Connor, after I fuck up Mike Perry, then you're next. So Connor's on Twitter all the time. He's on his yacht all the time. But guess where he's not? In the ring fighting me. So he can talk all the fuck he wants. But the Notorious MMA is scared of Jake Joseph Paul from Disney Channel. And I put that on my mama.
Thank you, everybody.
So he didn't really respond to the firing, just said that it sucks. And then he just turned it into being about him and Connor. Now, that is a fight that nobody needs to see. That is a fight that makes no sense. Conor McGregor is 5'7". So even when he's juiced up to the gills, that man weighs 170 pounds, you know. It would make no sense. There'd be no business. That's again, that like I said earlier, that is a mismatch. Jake Paul, 6'1", over 200 pounds. Even if he drops, a bunch of weight, it's a complete mismatch. Just shut the fuck up. Fight a real boxer. We don't need to see Conor McGregor. Although street fight, if you just let's say street fight, okay? Street fight, I'm gonna say Conor McGregor beats Jake Paul's ass, right? But boxing rules, standard boxing, let's not do these weird matches anymore. We're done with that, okay? We haven't seen Conor even fight in UFC in years. Let's try to get that going next. I've said this many times. I don't think that's happening again. I think Conor's done fighting, but I'd rather see him come back to UFC. We don't need to see the Jake Paul Stop it. Stop with the circus shenanigans. Go get a real boxer who is in your weight class, who is near your size, who is near your age and skill level. Someone who's been boxing about 5 years, who's really good. Let's do that. Something kind of funny happened recently. There's this stupid TikTok trend from 2020 that just resurfaced again recently for some reason. I have no idea why. And it's where people go ahead and cheat on me. This is my dad. And then they'll either post like a really scary guy, like they post their real dads, and it's either like some scary guy, some really protective guy, or sometimes it's funny because it's like a really nerdy guy that like you wouldn't be intimidated by at all. Or sometimes it's just a way to reveal that someone has like a famous dad. They're like, oh my God, is that so-and-so? And I saw a few of those recently. Obviously, I'm fatherless. Like I don't have any like funny dad footage that I could ever do that with. And I was in my sports creator mode. And I thought that'd be funny if I did that with like some fighters, just to be stupid, just to appropriate this trend and gear it towards the sports bimbo audience. So first I did Sean Strickland. He's like a father figure to me. I get advice from him sometimes. He mansplains stuff to me. So I put him, and it wasn't like a big hit in the views, but it was getting good engagement. It really irritated people for some reason that I did that. People were like, people on the internet are so stupid these days. What's the point of this content? Sean would make fun of you. It seemed to get under people's skin just in general that I did that. And so I thought, here's an opportunity for engagement. Even if people are hate watching something, if it drives them to you're making good content if people are commenting on it, good or bad. Because if it's boring, if it's a total flop, people are just going to scroll by. But if they take time out of their day to stop and comment, sure, would I rather have everyone like praising me, being like, oh my God, you know so much about sports, or oh my God, you're hilarious, or oh, that's so cool that you're a girl and you know about this. And of course, I would rather have all my comments be that. But, oftentimes they're not. And if I see an opportunity that, I'm getting under these MMA guys' skin, I'll go for it. Whatever works, right? So I'm like, that's funny. I'm going to do it again. And I just thought, no real rhyme or reason. I just took it back to the beginning of like one of my first favorite fighters, which I've said before is Tito Ortiz. That's who introduced me to MMA. That's who I first noticed UFC was through Tito Ortiz. So I was like, okay, I'll do Tito next. And like, I'll just keep going through different fighters that I like or know or enjoy. So I did Tito Ortiz next. And it never occurred to me that I actually look like him. Not for 1 second. But now that so many people believe that, because that one popped off with the views. Like last time I looked, it was over 50,000 views on like all kinds of different platforms. Lots of comments, really high engagement, lots of bookmarks and shares, like just doing really well and everybody believing it, which is so funny. So now that I really looked at it again, and it's, footage of me and then footage of him. And I dead ass, I look like him. Him as my dad and Jenna Jameson as my mom is believable. None of you actually know the facts because I think his kids are only like 15 years old or something like that. So if you're like deep into fight world, you're gonna know. But if you're more of a casual or you don't know too much about people's personal lives or whatever, maybe it's believable. But a lot of people seem to believe it, and I do look like him. I told Sean about it. I told him exactly like what I told you guys. There's this TikTok trend where girls do this and that because he's not on TikTok. He doesn't know. And he said, laughing my ass off, Tito 100% could pass as your dad. And it's so funny because the comments, they really think that. And I'm just going to own it. I like that. That lore is hilarious. I hope I don't piss off Tito or his wife. She follows me, Amber. Really nice woman, beautiful woman. Their kids are young. So hopefully they realize that I'm just joking and no one gets irritated by that. I don't want to piss Tito off. I know everyone likes to make fun of him. I respect Tito Ortiz in this house. Also, when people say that he has like CTE and stuff like that, to me, it's like, if these fighters do have brain damage or CTE, like to me, that's not funny because that is something like traumatic brain injury is not a joke. And that is something that people did for your entertainment. You watched those fights. You enjoy those fights. You enjoy this sport. So if that did happen to them, why is that funny to you? Like that's sad. And I think that we should respect the people who that's a great sacrifice for, us as the fans, and also for them, for the lifestyle that they go on to enjoy at the top, or, whatever it brings them. At the end of the day, it's a sacrifice. And I respect anyone who gets in a ring, an octagon, a cage. So I'm not on, like, I do laugh at some of this stuff. It is funny, but there's a difference between laughing at something and making fun of someone. And I'm not going to make fun or disrespect ever Tito Ortiz. And I don't care about his political beliefs. I've said it before. I'm not deeply into the fighter's personal beliefs or lives in that way, because if life was just about everyone having the same beliefs as me, there's a lot of people I can't support. And there's a lot of people that nobody would know. You don't know what everyone's true beliefs are. So there's a lot of people you wouldn't be able to support that you don't even know. Like, there's people, believe me, there's a lot of people, whoever thinks that you have to have the same beliefs. I promise you, whatever celebrities you like, Taylor Swift, whoever, they all believe something that you don't. We can't all. Having beliefs is so unique and multifaceted. It's not, everything is not going to be aligned. So you guys need to get over that. Now, if I really was Tito Ortiz's daughter, I mean, people on the internet are so mean. I'm able to just laugh it off because I'm like, you guys are idiots. It takes 2 seconds of investigation to go on my page and see I'm not this guy's daughter, because I just did this about Sean Strickland too. So how would I be both of it? Like, just use your brain. It's a TikTok trend. And I'm making content. I'm a content creator. My whole page is about fighters. So it just takes a little bit of critical thinking to realize, oh, she's just gearing trends towards her fight content page. It makes sense in the context of my page. All you got to do is click the username and figure it out. But, that who you guys should be laughing about is yourselves, who have 2 brain cells and you never even stepped a foot in a ring, cage, or octagon. That's what you need to worry about. But people are so mean and so diabolical. Imagine if I actually was a celebrity child. Like, people really will put you through it. The comments are 100% mean and diabolical. You can go look at them yourself on the Sports Bimbo page. Like, why? If that really was my dad and I was proud of him, what's the point of being so mean to me? I'm going to read you some of the comments of Tito Ortiz as my dad. A lot of them say your dad is going to outlive you. That is kind of funny. And that is because of a quote that Tito has said himself. He also said the one, like, sometimes I think when he's on the spot in his interviews, and you guys don't realize, if you've never been on camera, like, and you have to be on and be present, it is kind of hard to just like keep the words going. And, these guys are athletes. Like, some people are better at it when they're actors, readers, playwrights, stuff like that. I am really good at being on camera. I have a lot of experience reading and writing and, performing. So that's a little different than being an athlete. So the athletes that can be, entertainers and be really good on camera, on the news, and public speakers, like, that's a lot of skills. So he did say one time, I believe it was on the news, that he planned to outlive his children. I don't think that's what he meant. He also recently said eventually when his children become his grandchildren, and people thought that was hilarious. I think it is funny to see, on first glance, but I do think that what he meant is when his children become grandparents. It's just like a on the spot and, a little bit of a brain fart. But some of the comments are like, the daughter looks as clueless as the dad. I just know you have low intelligence. Your dad is a bozo. You look even less intelligent than your dad. Your dad has brain damage. Your dad has the lowest IQ in all of combat sports. The only person I know that ever made money using their mouth is your mother. You are half of a retard. I responded and said, you're a hole. And then a lot of comments tagging Dana White, which that's funny because we are all waiting for Dana White to come and say, my boy. I tagged Dana White as well. You guys, if you hear this, go find this post and tag Dana White. I want him to say my boy. But yeah, just a lot of evil comments. Your dad failed you as a parent. CTE general. Your dad has CTE. How much CTE does your dad have? I can distract your dad with a children's book. He's incompetent. Your dad has severe CTE. Your dad has 2 brain cells. I can get your dad to short circuit his brain like a computer getting an overload. Your dad is the most retarded guy in the entire world and a dog shit fighter too. I rebuke those comments, I have no attachment to them because Tito Ortiz is not my dad. I don't even know him. He's just a fighter. But if that was my dad and I innocently posted that on a regular page, just being proud of my dad or saying that my dad is intimidating because he could fight, imagine what that would feel like. You people, the trolls, whoever, MMA guys, you guys are horrible. stop. Like, really think about what you're doing. Imagine I was just like a regular girl who had a dad and just trying to make content. Is there any need to be that evil to me? I can take it because I'm already in the MMA world and I know you guys are all jackasses. And you guys look stupid because you believe that's my dad without even doing the tiniest bit of investigation. I don't think Tito Ortiz even has any adult children, okay? But I do like that I look like him. That's funny. I'm going to roll with this rumor. I like the concept that Tito Ortiz is my dad. So I'm going to keep it going in my content. It's pretty funny, but yeah, it was funny that so many people believe that. And I see it. I see it now. This is officially my 10th episode of Sports Bimbo. So I was thinking for maybe like the 11th or 12th, or maybe even a special bonus episode of doing a wrestling crossover episode. So DM me, comment me, whatever. Let me know what you guys think about that idea. And if so, what are some of the kind of things you'd like to see? Because obviously I'm very tapped into that world. I have a lot of friends and connection and knowledge and experience. So I could probably make a really fun episode. I've said it before in some interviews. Maybe you guys have heard it, maybe not. But like, I don't ever want to fully do content about wrestling just because I'm too insider. It wouldn't be fun for me. MMA, you can speculate like what's going to happen. You can predict and you don't know. Wrestling is a little more predetermined and I'm too insider. So it's not as much fun. And I do know everyone's personal lives. It's just, for me, it's not good. So this is MMA is a sport and boxing is a sport that I'm just a fan, right? I know a couple people, but I'm not, it's not that crazy. Like, whereas wrestling, I know everyone for like a decade. It's too crazy, but it would be fun to do a one-off episode here and there. So let me know what you guys want to see, what you think would be fun. And I think it would be a mistake to not, utilize all my knowledge and experience to at least do like a one-off fun little wrestling episode. Now it comes time to my little personal life section that I always do. But unfortunately, nothing's going on. My life is so dry. I really wanted to move on from that like the wrestling fish situation and like be distracted. But really, I've just been so focused on work. I have a lot going on with Sports Bimbo and Playboy. And this weekend doing the crossover Bimbo Blitz, Barroom Blitz with Circle 6, the all-girl barroom fight. So I have a lot going on. I don't really have time to get attention from men, and that's fine. And honestly, I'm still not like completely over that situation. It still kind of bothers me. So I'm just taking my time to process that. So there's not really any exciting information. Like I'm on Raya and guys are matching with me and messaging me, but I just don't feel that I have the energy. I like look at the messages and I'm like, I'm not ready to like try to get to know people right now. That last situation was just really too confusing for me. Like I ruined my summer, romantically. It's all supposed to just go great. He didn't stick to the plan, So yeah, we're not talking. We both have each other blocked and everything. It's stupid, but yeah. So nothing's going on. Just me working. I want to have stories. I want to do stuff for the plot, just so I have stuff to tell you guys. But I don't have anything going on, sadly. Just a working girl trying to make $1 out of 50 cents. Well, that's it for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for another episode of the Sports Bimbo podcast brought to you by the Bespoke Network. You can find me on all socials at Sports Bimbo. And please, please, please leave the podcast a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Bye for now.